Hello students, and welcome to the screencast on the Cold War. So everybody should have a note guide which looks something like this. Yours will be slightly different than mine. So let's get started. You will be turning in this worksheet today, so please complete it fully and make sure your names are on it. Now, this screencast is really just serving as a quick catch-up and a quick opportunity to take some notes so that we're on the same page moving forward with our hotspot research. Now, quick recap. Democracy versus communism, two fundamentally different ideas with vastly different ideologies. With the end of World War II, it's set with the United States and the Soviet Union being on the winning side, and therefore they had all of the power and prestige to help the growing nations that were emerging from the countries that were taken away from empires. Cold War lasted for almost 45 years, from 1947 to 1991. Make sure you write that down, and more importantly, make sure you know those dates. Put a star by it. It's very important. Now, leaders of the USSR, on your note guide, there are several boxes that have the names missing, so please make sure you fill them out now. So if we look at the succession of leadership throughout the USA and the USSR, you can clearly state the differences in simple ideology. In the United States here, we have a change in leadership between every 4 to 8 years, or in this case 2. But with the USSR, since it is a dictatorship, the leadership lasts a lot longer, except for these guys, but they were really old. And then finally in China, where you have the new communist regime, which we will get into this week, you can see that there's a power structure controlled by too few people over a very long period of time. So go ahead and take a second, pause if you need to, and fill in this information. Please note the correlation of which American leaders had to deal with which Russian leaders. This is very important, especially when we're talking about politics and the various policies that were instilled on both countries. Now, we've looked at these before, but I really wanted to look at this cartoon today. So as you can tell, and I know it's very difficult when we are in our classroom, but now that we're up close, you guys might be able to see it a little better. But this right here is a Russian flag, and you can kind of tell the conditions of this side of the Berlin Wall. And then on this side, you have Europe, and you also might want to note train tracks. Yes, they are still rebuilding. Notice people are running away, people with guns, airplanes, and who does this look like? Who is our favorite cigar-smoking British guy? Well, that'd be the guy who's poking under the skirt, Mr. Winston Churchill. So, make sure you understand the symbolism behind this cartoon because it pops up a lot, and may pop up on the test. Now, containment. This issue of trying to contain communism, as you guys will really quickly figure out, did not work as well as the United States originally intended. However, if we look at the hotspot map, which we will in a slide or two, the United States was actually able to control the spread of communism in a few countries. However, China was by far its biggest failure, along with Korea. But we'll get to those later in this unit. Now, NATO versus Warsaw. Now, these two friendships, unfortunately, established a relationship that was very hostile. What does this remind us of? Well, clearly, the alliance systems in World War I and World War II. You have friends kind of sticking together and promoting their own interests instead of promoting the interest of world peace. Now, if you look at these dates here, based on the colors, you'll notice that NATO is still around, but more countries started to join as the progression of the Cold War happened. Then if we look over at Warsaw, they really didn't promote this necessarily, this pact, very well, and so therefore they didn't have as much support. It's kind of ironic that with these two alliance systems, yet again emerging for the millionth time in world history, no one can figure out that when you isolate and make everything about a two-sided argument, no one can come together. It's just very sad. Alright, proxy wars. So, since the United States never fought against the USSR directly. They used proxy wars. As we've looked at some of the examples, and you guys were all assigned examples for your hotspot research, we're really looking at this idea of being torn between two of the world's superpowers. We have the USSR and the United States tearing everyone apart with their own battle using puppets, basically. Now, hotspots. So if we can go ahead and look at this map for a second, you'll notice that there are tons of hotspots, and a lot of them we're going to be looking at with our projects. But the communist expansion, it looks like there's a lot more communist expansion, but here's the thing you got to realize: this was already communist. So a lot of big countries became communist. But if you look at the yellow countries where the United States was able to stop communism, there's actually quite a few. So the United States was fairly successful during the Cold War. Now, different perspectives. I apologize if that got cut off. So the biggest differences between the two superpowers, and I want you to write these down in your notes, so go ahead and pause this and fill it in. So America has free elections. We're democratic, however, we are capitalist, and we believe in a policy of survival for the fittest. We are the richest country in the world. On the Soviet Union, what's interesting is you'll see positive and negatives on this list, and remember, perspective. So in the Soviet Union, there are no elections or fixed. However, everybody helps everybody. Yes, there's a poor economic base and total censorship, but at the same time, there is this perception of stability and control in the Soviet Union. Everybody knows where everybody stands. Everybody is it's a very set life. It's very controlled. True, there's not a lot of freedom, but at the same time, there's not a lot of uncertainty. And that's the end. Make sure you have all of your notes filled in, guys, and please turn this in. Ciao.